Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It has been a minute, but I'm excited because we are launching out our new series, Build Better, Not Bigger. And if you don't know what that's about, it is all about shifting the focus away from just scaling just for the sake of scaling, growth for the sake of growth, and instead building something that actually lasts. Because let's be honest, when your foundation's shaky, more growth just means more cracks, more problems. And so in this series, we're going to be talking to founders and creators and change makers who have hit the pause button, pivoted, or completely rebuilt with purpose at the center of that, as well as people who maybe they knew because of previous experience that they needed to really hit that foundation at its core to be able to sustain that growth that they were looking for. So if you're here to grow smarter, lead with strategy, ditch that pressure to scale or fail, then you're in the right place. Today's episode, I've been really excited about it. We're talking about what it means to reimagine education itself and how the future of learning isn't just happening in a classroom, it is being built from the ground up in entirely different ways. And my guest today is someone who's been ahead of that curve for a long time now. I'm actually going to put up just a little sneak peek here while I introduce him. So I'll let you kind of jump in and kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what we're looking at.
Dr. Rich Melheim. I was a born dyslexic child, and I could never pay much attention sitting in a classroom. I had to be drawing and writing songs to remember anything and making up jokes, corny jokes and different things. I just learned a different way. It wasn't until I was in my 50s that I found out I was dyslexic. When I was interviewing Dr. Marianne Wolf at the Tufts University Early Reading and Dyslexia Lab. She's the author of the book Proust and the Squid, about how a dyslexic eye and brain reads pictures at the same time it's reading letters. In about 550 BC, the Greeks decided we would read from left to right, and they turned us all into left brain analytical thinkers. Well, I had to learn in a different way. I had to use different parts of my brain to learn how to read. It was painful to give me a big, thick book. Even into my doctoral studies, I was drawing obnoxious pictures of my professors just to remember anything.
Yeah.
But it was no problem at all learning to memorize something in a song and some movement, in a song and movement and art. And so I started to study the molecular, cellular, structural, bodily, and environmental basis of learning, with the goal of finding ways to pour accelerant on the learning fire and to short circuit of learning disabilities, from dyslexia to ADD to ADHD. What does a brain need on a molecular basis? Well, you need oxygen, right? I just showed Maria my walking desk. I stand and walk when I type. I don't type anything anymore unless I'm moving. I need more oxygen in my brain. With oxygen, you get attention. You also get glucose, which feeds the brain. And with glucose, you get retention. You also get a molecular connection called BDNF, which is a fertilizer. I call it best darn nerve fertilizer. It's actually brain-derived neurotropic factor, but you don't have to know that for the test. And what BDNF does is it builds more nerve cells, it builds more connections on the nerve cells, and it builds more receptors on the connections of the nerve cells. So if you're trying to learn something, if you're trying to solve a problem, if you're trying to do anything, go for a walk, right? Don't sit there and try to figure anything out. Give yourself all of those things you need to learn. And with those molecules going in, you're also washing away the toxic stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol kills baby nerve cells as they're born. Cortisol prematurely wrinkles and ages and sags your skin. Cortisol tells your belly fat to stick around. But the worst thing of all the cortisol does is it blocks the sleep drug melatonin. And you need a certain amount of cortisol in your body. There's a balance between the cortisol and melatonin. You need a certain amount just to get up in the morning. but too much is toxic to your body, your brain. And it blocks the confidence, the competence, the creativity. It just blocks everything. So moving your body gets rid of the bad stuff and it puts in the good stuff. And if you combine the music and motion and emotion and fun, you would not have anything that looks like a school where you sit in a desk for 6 hours a day. As a neurologist, you should throw the desks away and put in bouncing chairs and treadmills and active collaborative learning. So we're looking right now at a school that we're designing. It's a space station called the City of Six Towers, and there'll be 36 games and songs and dances and cartoons in the Tower of Language, the blue one. And there'll be 36 songs and dances and games in the Tower of Science, the gold one. And there'll be 36 in the Tower of Health, and there'll be 36. And the whole thing's going to be a game. Rather than going to school, you're going to go into a video game and sing and dance and learn and play. And just think of that kid who's painfully bored sitting in school. Janet Vernikos wrote the book Sitting Kills. She's a NASA research scientist whose job was to help women in deep space flight keep their bone density up. And she came to the conclusion that sitting, it just kills your body and your brain, but walking and moving heals. Ever since my heart attack and I flatlined at a St. Paul Heart Clinic, I've been walking and I'm up to about 10 miles a day now. I don't want to do anything creative unless I'm moving. So yeah, that's what we're trying to rethink in terms of education, not a Henry Ford conveyor belt where you put the kindergartner in desks and the first grader and the second grader, and supposedly by the time you walk out, you've added value all along. There are school districts in the United States where 55% of the senior class can't read at a fifth grade level.
Well,
what are we doing?
Exactly. And I was going to, sorry about that. I thought you were ending, but no, I love that. Cause I mean, honestly, you answered a couple of my questions that I originally had, to that, what kind of led you to question that whole traditional classroom model in the first place. And I think you've done a great job of kind of answering that. But, at what point I want to talk about the actual pivot point? How did you go from an in-person education to scalable, metaverse style learning? What was that first pivoting point on that?
COVID. Where homeschooling went from 3.3% to 6.7%, where people started to realize that their kids really, in a 55-minute hour, they're maybe getting 20 minutes of learning and 35 minutes of classroom management. Sit down, sit still, stand in line. Don't do this, don't do that. If you're a neurologist, you say, yell, scream, run, sing, dance, move. Now hydrate. Now we'll sit and talk about it. And studies will show that about 20 minutes of active learning is going to feed your brain everything you need for perfect attention later. And anyway, we had started a project mostly for preschool, and now we're up to age 14 with it. But the goal was to pour accelerant on the learning fire by teaching the way the brain learns best. I launched into this idea of short-circuiting the short circuit of learning disabilities, starting at Harvard with Dr. John Rady. John wrote the book Driven to Distraction. Back in the 80s, he was a psychiatrist in Boston, and he started getting more and more clients saying, my kid can't pay attention. And mostly boys at that time. Pay attention. Is attention a currency? Pay attention. You know what it is? It's the only most valuable non-renewable currency we have. Why should I pay this if I'm not getting anything out of it? Well, we thought whatever we're going to do, we're going to move in our learning environment. Mm-hmm. And then we went to the Neuroscience Institute in San Diego, where Dr. Annie Patel, who wrote the book Music, Language, and the Brain, gave the brain scan of what's going on with music in the brain. John Rady at Harvard does the brain scan of movement, what's happening connecting your brain with movement. Annie Patel at the Neuroscience Institute does the brain scans of music. And we began to wonder, what if you added music to movement from a molecular, cellular, structural, bodily, environmental basis? And then Marianne Wolf at Tufts, the whole idea of reading, she found that in the half a second that it takes the light to go through the retina to the back of the brain, and the electrical impulse for a good reader heads mostly to the left, above the left ear, the linguistic and phonics centers. But with the dyslexic kid, at the same time, it's moving to the picture centers of the brain, and everything starts slowing down. We speculated that you could create a really rich learning book plug. By the way, it's free online at richlearning.com. We speculated that if you added movement and music and literacy together with fun, that you could have much better results. So we took that concept. I hired 38 musicians. We wrote 500 preschool songs, 30 math songs, 30 science songs, 30 health songs, 30 Spanish songs, 30 Mandarin songs. And we decided it was time to test. So I became a preschool teacher that first summer. Lost 15 pounds singing and dancing and jumping all day long. I was exhausted, but you know what? The kids were running all over, having a great time, and they were learning more in 6 weeks than they did in 6 months in school.
Yeah.
Took those results and we went to Chennai, India, where we brought in teachers from 11 cities, and we replicated it in India. By the way, every day you're singing and dancing these songs, and at the end of 7 weeks, you do a show. It's a giant onstage show and tell sing thing. We took those results, cleaned them up, and we went to Ethiopia. And the science minister of Ethiopia, who's now the prime minister, was one of our sponsors. And we just had an amazing time. And then I was speaking in South Carolina, and a tall philanthropist who started Longhorn Steakhouse, Bill Dukes, came up to me and said, "Rich, we got third world conditions right down Highway 95. Why don't you come and do a project here in South Carolina?" We ended up 3 summers in South Carolina right up until COVID. And people were bringing their 5th, 6th, 7th graders. This was supposed to be for preschool, but they would say, "Can my kid help? Can my kid help?" And what they were really saying is, "Can my kid eat this summer?"
Yeah.
Because when school's off, there are food security issues for those kids. But even the 5th, 6th, 7th graders were having a blast. And some of them were learning to read for the first time. And then COVID hit. And we couldn't hire teachers, and we couldn't plan ahead. We didn't know if it would be 6 weeks or 6 months. And at that same time, AR, VR, 5G, I call it the HD, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my Starlink.
Yeah.
Here are our public schools today.
Yeah.
And here's where the learning world is going. And if I may be so bold, that within 5 years, the brick and mortar school, the idea of sitting in a desk, and now we know from a molecular, cellular, structural, bodily, environmental basis that you need more oxygen, glucose, BDNF, and get rid of cortisol. All of that's going away. And I'm going to say that we're going to start to see the brick and mortar school disappear for anybody who has money within 5 years. The idea of sitting in a brick and mortar school is going to seem ancient, archaic, and dreadfully inefficient. Let's say you want to learn French. Why wouldn't you fly to the base of the Eiffel Tower with 5 friends? Why wouldn't you be on it? You'll be able to walk the streets of Paris with a digital twin of Paris, and you will see everything you need to see. They'll give you 200 francs, and they'll say, okay, by 10 o'clock, you have to get to the Rodin Museum. By noon, we're meeting at Notre Dame. By 2 o'clock, you have to buy a baguette on the other side of town. And by 5 o'clock, we're going to have a trip to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And nobody's going to speak English to you at all in this digital twin of Paris. So here's your 200 digital francs. Lots of luck, go. You will learn French in 6 weeks. It will not be sitting, it'll be moving. And you might say, I want a friend from Mumbai, Dubai, Shanghai, and my cousin in Cincinnati. And we're going to take these little Learning Quest pods. There will be hidden Easter eggs, like there are 6 things that'll double your francs. If you can find them, you'll have to go into some little dusty bookshop and ask in French some, crazy question, or, I need the latest Victor Hugo book. Didn't he just write a new one? You're going to be playing games. You're going to be speaking. You're going to be learning. You're going to be experimenting. Would you rather do that or sit in a French class? If you need to learn the circulatory system, why wouldn't you hop into a magic school bus, get injected into a human body, and float all around the body? And by the way, you might see you'll have T cells in your shooter and geoblasters, and you'll be able to shoot any cancer cells you see along the way, and your T cells will eat them up, and it'll be like a game. Maybe you have a friend with brain cancer, and you'll take your glioblaster and head to the brain. And I did buy glioblaster.com to make a game, by the way.
I love that.
If you're going to learn astrophysics, why wouldn't you fly out to the edge of the Webb's and the Hubble space telescopes? I mean, you'll be able to learn what you want, when you want, where you want, with whom you want, and none of it will be in a sitting classroom. You might get together with your friends to go play soccer, but you'll also be able to play virtual soccer with Pele when he was 14, or you can go one-on-one with Shaquille O'Neal when he was 12, or you can build a hockey team out of the best players in the world. You'll be able to, for AV, you'll be able to make your own movies and star in your own movies. My wife and I are going to the last Mission Impossible movie today at 2:00. Basically, you're going to be Tom Hanks, or you're going to be Tom Cruise. Or what movie do you want to be in? You want to be Olivia de Havilland in Gone with the Wind? You will be the star of the movie. Imagine the trillions in the movie industry if you can star in any movie you want. And you put the headset on and you're walking around this 3D world, and the AI will give you 4 chances for each line you're going to do. And it'll give you digital coaching saying, I need you to raise an eyebrow and snarl when you say that, and which take is the best bang, and hit print, and you can be the star of every movie. It's going to be so amazing for anybody with money.
And I think that's a key point.
Yeah.
Right. And even because I know a lot of our listeners for this show specifically, they are business owners, entrepreneurs, like they understand that, but what it takes behind the scenes to get things going. And I do want to kind of ask a couple questions in that world. Sure. What foundational pieces do you need to be able to have something like this, to be able to make it sustainable, like long term? Because obviously, like you've painted a pretty vast picture. Like this, like I want to play it. I mean, I'm out of school now, but I want to do it, right? I'm like, I don't care if it's preschool. I'm in. You've got I want to do it. So, but also kind of taking a step back into like a business owner hat. I know what it takes to build and scale something. And so with that in mind, I know, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, what do you think the biggest hurdles are getting from where you are right now, or even like where you started? Let's start with that first. Like where you started to where you are now. What have been some of the biggest hurdles to shift? Maybe it's like technology wise, or emotionally, or financially, or just getting people to understand, or a little of all.
One of my saying is build smarter, not martyr.
That's good.
You can kill yourself. I started a publishing business in 1994. I didn't mean to, but I was creating some stuff and other people wanted it. And it all had music, art, dance, theater, and comedy. Some of the comedy was like corny, but we found neurologically even an eye roll and a stupid laugh is still a way to hook into the brain. So if you want to eventually scale, you have to get your foundation, okay? You need to be sustainable, then replicable, then scalable. And sustainable means basic foundations. Do you have something that someone else needs?
Yeah.
Do you have something that someone else wants? Can you do it in a more elegant, simple, usable, right out of the gate way? And then can you figure out, I say there's never a money problem. There's only a vision, passion, plan problem. Okay.
Absolutely.
In Peter Sengi's book, The Fifth Discipline, he's the most brilliant systems thinker at MIT back in the 90s when I started following him. He says the committees don't have vision, a leader does. But if a leader is lone, that's where the martyr comes in, right? The other word for martyr is dead. Do you like that word? I don't like that word. Okay. So you have to build a vision team. And if you have the vision and the passion, and then together with the vision group of people, like-minded people and different-minded people who all want this good thing to happen for the world, this beautiful thing to happen, then you can design a plan that's version 1.0 of will have so many iterations as you learn and grow and learn and grow and learn and grow. One of our friends and mentors talks about an evaluation called P times S times E equals V. P, the size of the problem, times the S, times P times S. I'm drawing a blank here. The elegance of the solution. Do you have something absolutely beautiful, unique, and doable? Times E, the executive experience, equals V, valuation. Okay. So you've got your vision here, and you're building your vision team, and you're coming up with this execution plan out of this vision team. You first have to figure out, how do I solve this in a way that I don't have to make money on the very first thing, but I just don't want to lose a lot of money. And your early on investors don't want to lose any money. They want to scale, but you scale too fast and you don't have a big enough foundation. So P, for us, education was exposed during COVID as what we're doing is just not working. And parents don't care about the plan, they care about the results. Is my kid actually learning something, and do they like it? Are they dreading going to school? Are they absolutely loving it? Can they hardly wait? You know, if they love it and they're having fun with their friends, that's why gaming platforms and gaming mechanics makes all the sense in the world. Plus you get all the dopamine, from it, and adrenaline. Okay. You have to build that to attack the problem. World education is a big problem. If the size of your problem is, I want to make a toilet paper that's 20% more absorbent, that's not a big problem. But if you can attack a big problem with an elegant solution, and here we are at the moment in the metaverse. I mean, Zuckerberg tried to changed the name to Meta, and it was not all that impressive. It's going to be. It was not all that impressive. Once we get to 6G, you won't know if you're sitting next to me in a room or not. It'll be the Jedi Council. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Will look like an ancient cartoon, right? Okay, so you have to build that first piece that has a big problem you're attacking, an elegant solution, and a great team that can figure out how to do this. And then you do your version 1.0, knowing that you're going to make 60% of your mistakes in this first version. I hope you make 60% of your mistakes in the first version, because you start scaling and it's very costly to make mistakes. Once you figure out how to do that first thing and at least break even, knowing that down the road you're going to be able to make money when you scale, then you replicate. Okay, sustainable, replicable. Okay, but the DNA, if you have a hub and spokes model, the DNA, the executive leadership, the business operating document, and the clean, clear, simple lines of communication all stem from this first cell that replicates. And I would not replicate more than 5 or 6 sites. Say you're building a new tire franchise, say you're building a new anything. Okay, once you got it down, you keep the efficiency and the whole plan, central planning from the hub. Now you head out and you build your spokes on the wheel of the hub. There's a certain efficiency in working because one central operation. In that second tier, you're in constant communication. You're still one team, but you want to make 30% of your mistakes as you're learning. Peter Senge, I mentioned earlier, who in the 5th discipline, talking about getting your vision first and you're building your vision team. Second, talks about building a learning organization. I don't know if he was the first one to coin that phrase or not, but the idea of a learning organization is you are asking every single day, what's working, what's not working, how do we make it better?
Yeah.
Go. What's working, what's not working, how do we make it better? Go. And that's what we do in all of the enterprises and the schools we would do every single day. And each team inside that, whether they're the tech team, the music team, the art team, the building team, the design, they are always looking for constant improvement. The Japanese auto industry destroyed us for about 25, 30 years because they had this concept of kaizen, the idea that there's going to be steady, constant, incremental improvement. And their thought was, it doesn't matter how fast we go as long as we never stop learning. We're not going to grow too fast. We're not going to let ourselves grow too fast unless we've made these 60% of mistakes and the 30% of mistakes. And now at this point, each of these nodes can be a hub for 6 more, 6 more, 6 more, 6 more. Okay. But they have to always be feeding the information, what's working, what's not working. So nobody at corporate, nobody at the head office worries about, they're making too many mistakes. No, we're happy we're going to celebrate our mistakes. If you remember the book Going Nuts by Herb Kelleher, founder of Southwest Airlines, he brought a guy in to do some work and the guy made $1 million mistake. And on Monday morning, he came in with his letter of resignation and he handed it to Herb and Herb said, let you go, fire you. I just spent $1 million training you. I'm not letting you go. Now we learned something. What if we had that freedom in business to know that we got your back, we got your front, we're going to all do this together, but we're going to keep learning and learning and learning. And now we're going to make 10% of our mistakes on the fringes, but it's not going to be so costly and big deal because we've learned something there. So 3 things to wrap it up. Number 1, attack a big problem with an elegant solution and a great executive team. You'll have a wonderful valuation. Number 2, build yourself a hub and spokes model where you make 60% of your mistakes at home with the vision and the passion and the plan. Make 30% of your mistakes in your outsourced hubs, nodes on the hub, 10% there. And the third thing, and this is where my real heart is with our richlearning.com, we created a nonprofit, and it's called Rich Learning International. We were able to land the builder of the largest American scholarship in history to be the chair of our foundation, Dr. William C. Nelson. Brilliant, brilliant man. And he had 5,000 American corporations involved in Scholarship America. They've given away almost $5 billion. And when 9/11 hit, they set up the Family of Freedoms Awards. And instantly, those organizations knew they were going to do good things for the kids whose parents were killed and injured in 9/11. And they've given away hundreds of millions of dollars. And then Wintley Phipps showed up, and he wanted to do something for kids whose parents were incarcerated. And so Dr. Bill, for 12 years, helped build the U.S. Dream Academy. Oprah is their biggest donor, but they've got donors all over the world. And you do one thing really, really well, but don't just do good for yourself. You can do well and do good for the world. And people, if you set up a sister nonprofit, which richlearninginternational.org is, people will be happy if the vision, the passion, and the plan gets real results. And they would rather donate to something that makes the world a better place than simply make an extra 5% of their investment. So set up a nonprofit at the start.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, I mean, you gave us a lot of great information, but one of the things I do want to point out is exactly what you just ended with. You've created something that's super scalable, super, ingenious, super, profitable, right? But it's still deeply human. And, the key with designing something wonderful is that you design it for both. You don't just design it to be, one-sided. It has to really hit that human level. And I think, what you're doing on both aspects, whether it's, Rich Learning or the nonprofit, I think it really just hits all of those marks. I do want you to kind of share with anybody listening right now, if they want to learn a little bit more about Rich Learning or the nonprofit, how to get involved, how can they connect with you?
Go to richlearning.com, download the copy of, this is the book basically of the neurology of music, art, dance, and theater. And it all stemmed from my being so terribly bored in school. And then just look around on the website. We've got an amazing team. Take a look at the team. And then you can sign up for different things and information at richlearning.com if you want. And then our nonprofit is richlearninginternational.org. Our goal with the nonprofit very, very soon, and by the way, Maria has helped us with our website and some different plans, and we're so thankful, and Sharon, so thankful for them. Our goal is for every kid who can afford a monthly membership in this learning club. It'll be like Huntington Learning Centers or Mathnasium, but it'll be living and having fun and playing games. We just brought on Aaron Goolsby and Kurt McClung. Aaron is the president of Mythical Games. So everything we do is going to be a giant game to enter. But our goal with the nonprofit is for every kid who can afford a membership, we give one away to a kid who can't. And we give the equipment, and we give the high-speed Starlink or whatever download internet they have. So if you want to donate to the nonprofit, it's all tax deductible. If you just want to find out more, we know that this is a $1 trillion industry. Right now, gaming is growing with leaps and bounds. And as the tech evolves, it's going to be so beautiful, so amazing, so wonderful. There will be dangers in the internet. There will be dangers of people who want their virtual life more than their real life, who don't have real relationships. So we need to find a way to build real relationships, not just virtual. But we want to give it away with the nonprofit. So we'd love to have your help. And we do need people to come in and test out this school once it's finished, by the way. So sign up on the for-profit richlearning.com, and you can be some of our first testers. We will be doing a second round of funding. We put $1.2 million into this whole thing so far. And we'll be doing a second round. So if anybody's looking for an investment that will do well and do good, we're happy to talk to you as well.
I think that's great. And if you're listening to this and you're on any of the podcast platforms, if you go down into the show notes, we're going to have all the links to all the things that Dr. Rich just shared with you there, so you can find it easily. And for anybody that's watching live, I really appreciate you tuning in today. If you're watching this in the replay, if you take a minute just to kind of like it and maybe put it in the comment that you're watching the replay, we're trying to gauge how many people are catching it via replay and via live. So that would be super helpful.
Dr. Rich, put the links on your socials so that networks of networks can help. And also, a final thought for your own business, those friends that you have already out there who believe in what you're doing and love you and believe in your passion and plan, don't be afraid to ask of them, can you spread this out? Thanks. Can you spread this out? Thanks. And you'll do the same for them, because it's the conduit of networks connecting with networks connecting with networks that'll do more than spending any millions of dollars on advertising.
100%. And, I think that sometimes you mentioned afraid, like sometimes we are afraid to kind of make that ask. And I mirror exactly what you're saying, Dr. Rich. Just go ahead and ask, because if you think about it, most of us, we want to help. We want to help our neighbor, our, fellow business owner, and we may not automatically think about it, but when it's mentioned to us, it puts it in the forefront of our mind. Like, oh yeah, I would love to be able to help you. So don't be afraid to kind of take that step out and ask. I love that. Is there anything else you want to share before we end this?
Just another thank you to Maria for helping us get our nonprofit stuff all put together. And we hope to be able to do a lot more work with her. She's smart, she's with it, she's aware, and she's got a great heart.
Well, that was an amazing plug that I didn't plan for, but thank you so much, Dr. Rich. And thank you all for tuning in. And we will see you next week for another live episode. And this episode, if you're listening on our podcast platform, make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you're at.